The Butterfly Effect. This story follows Evan, a boy who suffers from blackouts during important moments of his life. As he grows older, he discovers that by reading his childhood journals, he can go back to those moments and change them. At first, it feels like a way to fix everything. He tries to correct past mistakes and help the people around him, especially Kaylee, who had a traumatic childhood. But every time he changes something, the present comes back different, and usually worse. Each new timeline creates new damage, affecting everyone in unpredictable ways. Evan keeps going back, trying to find a version where everyone is okay, but it never works. No matter what he does, someone always ends up suffering, including himself. He eventually realizes that the problem isn't just the events he's changing, it's him. His ability to interfere and his connection to those people is what keeps breaking everything. With no solution left, Evan makes a final decision. He goes back further than ever before, to the moment before he was even born. Inside his mother's womb, he uses the umbilical cord to prevent his own birth. By doing that, he erases himself completely, preventing every timeline where he existed and stopping all the suffering before it can begin. The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. This story takes place during World War II, following Bruno, the young son of a Nazi officer. After his father is promoted, his family moves to a house near a concentration camp, though Bruno doesn't understand what it really is. He begins exploring the area and eventually finds a fence. On the other side, he meets Shmuel, a boy wearing striped clothes. The two start talking regularly and form a secret friendship despite the barrier between them. Bruno sees him as just another kid, not understanding the reality of the camp or why Shmuel is there. As time passes, their bond grows stronger. Bruno keeps visiting him and treating him like a normal friend, even as everything around them suggests something is wrong. One day, Shmuel tells him his father is missing. Wanting to help, Bruno decides to crawl under the fence and enter the camp. Inside, he is immediately treated like the other prisoners. The boys are gathered with a group and forced to move together. They are led into a closed room, and moments later, they are killed together without fully understanding what was happening. Alpha Dog. Johnny Truelove runs a small drug operation with his friends in late 1990s California. When Jake Mazursky refuses to pay a debt, tensions escalate between them. After a confrontation, Johnny makes a reckless decision. Instead of going after Jake, they kidnap his younger brother, Zach. At first, he's just a hostage, but that quickly changes. Zach comes from a strict and repressed household, and over this weekend, he experiences everything he never had. He parties, uses drugs, loses his virginity, and lives what feels like a perfect teenage dream. He bonds with the group, and everyone begins to like him, not only his captors, but also their friends. He's a good kid. The film shows numerous chances for him to escape. At one point, Frankie tells him to get on a bus and go home, saying he'll pretend Zach ran away. But he's such an innocent kid that he doesn't even understand the danger he's in. As time passes, Johnny starts to panic. He realizes the consequences if Zach is released. Johnny orders that Zach be killed. They take Zach to a remote area, pretending he's going home. He begs for his life. They go through with it, killing him and leaving his body behind. The ending hits harder because by this point, you've become close to him. And especially because it is based on a true story, the life of David Gale. This story follows David Gale, a former professor and activist against the death penalty, who is now on death row, accused of murdering a fellow activist. Days before his execution, he agrees to give an interview to a journalist who begins to piece together his story. Gale explains how his life slowly collapsed. After being accused of misconduct, he loses his career, his reputation, and his family. At the center of the case is the death of his colleague, Constance, who was found suffocated. The evidence points directly to him, and he is convicted. As the interview continues, the journalist starts to suspect that something doesn't add up. She finds clues suggesting that Gale may not be guilty and begins a race against time to prove it before the execution. She eventually discovers what seems to be critical evidence and rushes to stop it, but arrives too late. Gale is executed. After his death, a hidden video is revealed. It shows that Constance's death was planned, and Gale willingly took part in it. She was dying, and together they staged her murder to create a case where an innocent man would be executed, exposing the flaws of the system. In the end, Gale dies for a cause he believed in, proving his point at the cost of his own life. The Departed. This story takes place in Boston, where the police and organized crime are deeply connected. It follows two men living double lives on opposite sides of the law. Billy Costigan is an undercover cop sent to infiltrate the organization of Frank Costello, a powerful crime boss. At the same time, Colin Sullivan is a criminal who Costello kind of raised and managed to infiltrate the police. As time passes, both sides realize there is a mole, and Billy and Sullivan begin trying to identify each other. The tension escalates as investigations close in, and the risk risk of being exposed becomes unavoidable. Eventually, Costello is tracked by the police during an operation. When they move in to arrest him, Sullivan shoots him on the spot to protect himself. After that, Billy finally learns Sullivan's identity. He records the evidence and sets up a meeting, confronting him and forcing him to admit the truth. For a moment, it seems like Billy has won. But when they reach the elevator, another officer suddenly shoots and kills Billy. Seconds later, Sullivan kills him, removing the witness and walking away free. Even though Sullivan is later killed, it doesn't erase the impact of Billy's death. It's a messed up ending. Fallen. This story follows John Hobbs, a detective investigating a serial killer about to be executed. Before dying, the killer grabs his hand and whispers in an unknown language. Soon after, identical murders begin happening again. As Hobbs investigates, he notices something impossible. People start acting like the killer, then suddenly return to normal, with no memory of what happened. Hobbs discovers the truth. The killer was actually a demon named Azazel, who can move from person to person through touch. Anyone can become the killer at any moment. As the case escalates, Hobbs is framed, and the demon targets his family, killing his brother. With no options left, he isolates himself in a remote cabin. Hobbs then poisons himself, knowing that if Azazel takes his body, the demon will die with him. When Azazel arrives, they fight, and Hobbs kills the last human host, forcing the demon to enter his dying body. With no one else around, it seems like the plan worked. Azazel is trapped, and Hobbs dies, taking the demon with him. But in the final moment, a cat shows up. Azazel transfers into the animal and escapes, proving that everything Hobbs did wasn't enough. The gift. This story follows a couple, Simon and Robin, who move to California after Simon is promoted at work. Shortly after, Simon reconnects with an old schoolmate, Gordo. At first, the encounters seem harmless. Gordo visits them, brings gifts, and tries to stay close. But his presence quickly becomes uncomfortable for Simon, who suspects he's up to something. Robin begins to question why. As time passes, the situation escalates. Robin starts to feel watched and unsafe inside her own home. She becomes paranoid, can't sleep, and starts taking pills. One day, Simon finds her passed out. During this time, Robin also finds out she is pregnant. Eventually, she discovers that Simon fabricated a lie about Gordo in school, ruining his life. With that, everything shifts. Gordo is no longer just a strange man, and Simon is no longer trustworthy. Their relationship begins to fall apart. Near the end, Gordo disappears, leaving behind one final gift. It's a video showing that he was the one who sedated Robin the day she passed out, and may have done something to her, but nothing is shown. In the end, Robin breaks up with Simon, and he is left with the possibility that his wife was abused and that he may be raising someone else's child. Logan. This story takes place in 2029, where mutants are nearly extinct, following Logan, an aging and weakened version of Wolverine. His healing factor is failing, and he lives in hiding, working as a driver while taking care of an ill Charles Xavier. His routine changes when a young girl named Laura appears. She is being hunted, and Logan is forced to help her escape. Laura is not a normal child. She was created in a lab using Logan's DNA, giving her the same abilities. As they travel together, Logan tries to keep his distance, but he slowly begins to bond with her. Meanwhile, they are pursued by a group trying to capture her and bring her back. They eventually discover that Laura is not the only one. Other mutant children are trying to reach a safe place near the border. As the situation escalates, Logan is forced into one final confrontation. He faces a younger clone of himself, created as a weapon. During the fight, Logan is fatally wounded, but manages to protect Laura and the other children. He dies shortly after, and Laura buries him, marking his grave with a cross that she turns into an X.